Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good night, good day to you, depending where you are in the world. It is our nighttime devotion. We are live here in London. It is a Wednesday evening. We're doing our nighttime devotion from the devotional Conflict and Courage. The title today, It's Up to You. The scripture reading comes from Hebrews chapter 11, verse 4. By faith, Abel offered unto God a more excellent sacrifice than Cain, by which he obtained witness that he was righteous, God testifying of his gifts, and by it he being dead yet speaketh. Cain and Abel, the sons of Adam, differed widely in character. Abel had a spirit of loyalty to God. He saw justice and mercy in the Creator's dealings with the fallen race and gratefully accepted the hope of redemption. But Cain cherished feelings of rebellion, murmured against God because of the curse pronounced upon the earth and upon the human race for Adam's sin. He permitted his mind to run in the same channel that led to Satan's fall, indulging the desire for self-exaltation and questioning the divine justice and authority. These two brothers erected their altars alike, and each brought an offering. Abel presented a sacrifice from the flock in accordance with the Lord's directions, and the Lord had respect unto Abel and his offering. Fire flashed from heaven, consumed the sacrifice. But Cain, disregarding the Lord's direct and explicit command, presented only an offering of fruit. There was no token from heaven to show that it was accepted. Abel grasped the great principles of redemption. He saw himself a sinner. He saw sin and its penalty, death, standing between his soul and communion with God. He brought the slain victim, the sacrificed life, thus acknowledging the claims of the law that had been transgressed. Through the shed blood, he looked to the future sacrifice, Christ dying on the cross of Calvary, and trusting in the atonement that was there to be made. He had the witness that he was righteous and his offering accepted. Cain had the same opportunity of learning and accepting these truths as had Abel. He was not the victim of an arbitrary purpose. One brother was not elected to be accepted of God, and the other to be rejected. Abel chose faith and obedience. Cain, unbelief and rebellion. Here, the whole matter rested. It's up to you. So essentially, it's focusing on God the Father, our Father, had given them, as it says, an explicit command to make. It was an explicit command to make a sacrifice. And Abel presented an animal from his flock as a sacrifice. Cain brought his best fruit. Now, as is said here, the whole point of the sacrifice was that it pointed to what we now call the ultimate sacrifice, to Christ dying on the cross. Every single sacrifice that did occur from the time of creation up until the Christ dying on the cross, every single one was about Christ on the cross. It was pointing towards everything that they did in the sanctuary, the tents that Moses built in the wilderness. Every time there was a sacrifice, every time that happened, it pointed to Christ on the cross. So the whole of the Old Testament was all about Christ on the cross. Abel seemed to understand that. And as is said, Cain did not. Cain chose to disobey. Cain chose to do what he wanted to do. He ignored God's command, explicit command, and he brought his fruits to God, which were rejected. And with that rejection, it caused pride to rise up in Cain. And of course, we know the rest is history. The title is It's Up to You. What does that mean to you? Looking at Cain and Abel, Abel following God's explicit commands, Cain bringing his interpretation, which was not following God's explicit commands. It's up to you. What are you doing? Are you following God's commands? And I'm talking to myself too. Are we following God's commands? Or are we doing what we want to do? It's up to you.